Hey, it's Catherine Avery of Reservate Interior Design, and this is a pretty late time for me to be posting anything here on Facebook. But I promised, because I'm part of this 31-day challenge with Lou Bortone, that I would put a video up every day for the month of August. And I put one on my personal timeline earlier and mentioned that I was going to do some unusual things on the weekends that weren't so business, office, design, productivity oriented. So once again, I'm in my backyard. This is the calm before the storm. We are due for a real huge thunderstorm tonight. And one of the big reasons I'm outside is I need to close up the umbrella, put away the cushions, and just generally make sure that things are battened down, because I don't know how bad the winds and the storm are going to be. So we always kind of do that before a storm. I'm sure you do too. So I'm back here again. You can hear my water fountain going, and probably can hear all kinds of bugs and birds and whatnot. I just love it back here. It's very, very relaxing and very peaceful, and we've had a super long day. I have been out with my client, one of them, and she and I were choosing kitchen cabinetry for their office kitchenette and their copier area, and getting all of that finalized, determining the countertops. And I had one of those OCD moments which designers seem to have, where I went out and back to the office space and measured for the third time to make sure that the cabinetry was right. It's really good to be a little bit overdone on details when you're a designer. But I said I wouldn't talk about design, so I'm going to tell you a story. So this is a story about me and when I turned 30. So as many of you already know, I had cancer in 2015. I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. I did have to go through everything. I was triple positive. I had to have a lumpectomy, and then I had chemo, radiation, and Herceptin. It was a long journey, and it was pretty intense, but it was pretty great too. I learned a lot from it. And one of the reasons I bring that up is it was sort of my 50 journey, right around the time I turned 50. As I was going to be 30, I was not married. I had a really thriving, amazing career on Wall Street. And actually, I was at AIG at the time, the international side of that insurance company. And I had an opportunity to travel and meet really fun people and live my life and have an amazing time. And I loved being single, and it was great. And I made a decision that for my 30th birthday, I would go to Bolivia and Peru. And so I also made a decision that since my goals were so much around get married, have a baby, get married, have a baby. You know, I was getting old. I had a friend who was telling me, you just get a cat. I think by 30, I had gotten that cat. That was kind of a funny story too. Maybe that's another day. And so I decided I would have a goal of stepping foot in every continent before I turned 40. And that would take my mind off this whole getting married, baby thing. So I started in South America, and I went to Bolivia and Peru for my birthday, Christmas, New Year's Eve, all in that zone. And this particular trip required a 6-day hike to Machu Picchu. And I had known I was going to go since like August or something. So I had trained. I would go around New York City, and I'd wear a backpack, and I'd put on my hiking boots, and I would walk all day long on the streets in New York City with this backpack, and I would do my grocery shopping. I'd fill up the backpack. It would get heavier and heavier, so it was much like having a day pack when you're traveling, because you have sort of the equivalent of Sherpas who move your luggage for you. So initially you have donkeys and horses and people leading them, and then you got into a section of the trail that was way too hard for donkeys and horses to cross, you know, like, okay, so you're going to make me cross, but the donkeys and the horses don't have to. I would just, don't get me started. So there were parts of this that were just crazy. So unbeknownst to me, I was majorly altitude sick. One. And two, I didn't know I was an asthmatic. So there were parts of this trip that I was just sucking wind. And I was very, very sick on the trail. I lost, I think, 8 or 9 pounds in the course of a couple weeks. They had to make me special meals, so I would eat like rice with boiled vegetables. I mean, on top of the rice, it was like the most bland, boring food, trying to make sure that I would keep things settled as much as I could. I'd been given medication when we were in, oh boy, just off of Lake Titicaca on the Peruvian side. I can't remember what the town was called. But I stayed the night there while they were all staying on Lake Titicaca in the pouring rain outside. I was in a hotel getting well before we got to Cusco and to do the trip up to Machu Picchu. So the hike was arduous. And the hardest, there were 2 very hard days. One day we were crossing a 1,600 square foot, there I go with design again, 1,600 foot high overpass. And as we got there, I was actually delusional. I thought that the snow was a bed and it was a comfortable place to lie down, and I was really having to be dragged up to the top. And there is an entire section I don't remember at all. And I am 99.9% sure I blacked out. And the next thing I remembered was being on the other side and being dropped down off the back of the gentleman who was carrying 3 backpacks plus me over that pass. Because I wasn't going to make it. And the way the snow was coming in, it was going to be a real problem if we didn't get over quickly. So as I got on the other side, I just remember running down through all that sort of scree, that rubble as you're going down a mountainside, and just running as fast as it could and just thinking air, air, air. And they're telling me to slow down, and I'm like, hell no, I'm getting down, I need air. So that was one of the bad days on the hike. And the other was day 5. So it was really our second to last day of hiking to Machu Picchu. And you know, there comes a certain point, you get into the trail and the hiking, and you can't turn back. And that's about day 2. So there's no turning back. By day 2, you're just done. You either have to finish or, you know, I don't know, get airlifted out. I don't know how the hell you get out if you're really in trouble. We did have people who turned back on day 2. So day 5, we get up. It's rainy season. It's raining all day, and it's cold, and it's raw. And your best bet at that point is to wear shorts, because your legs are getting wet whether you're wearing slacks or not. So heck with it. You might as well just have wet legs, and you can just dry them later. And as we're hiking the Inca Trail, I'm quite sick. I kind of say I left my mark on the Inca Trail. And we have a plan to be on this campsite on this open ridge way up in the mountains. And it is so windy and so cold and so miserable that the team has decided we should move on and go further on to a campsite that's further down, closer to Machu Picchu, more sort of with civilization. So there was like some cabins, and I think there were showers, I think there were even toilets, which is really quite remarkable after 5 days of being on a trail. And, you know, I think one of those days we bathed in a river. So, you know, it's funny, we would get a big bowl of hot water every morning to bathe with. And so you would bathe, you know, your face first, so it would get clean, and then you would bathe everything else going there, and, you know, ending with your feet, because of course your feet were the dirtiest from the shoes. So anyway, we are doing this huge hike. It's 17 kilometers for the total distance, which was not the plan. And the rest of the group was ahead. I was behind with one of the 2 leaders. And the first leader came back and said, look, we have this plan. Do you think you can do it? Can you keep going? And I said yes. And I was probably in no shape to say yes. It was exhausting. I was tired. In fact, I was so exhausted and so sick that I just really pretty much cried the whole time. It just came out. There was just nowhere for the feelings to go. They had to just come out, so they just did. And, you know, not in a big, yucky, weepy, oh my God kind of way, but just in a constant, you know, coming down with the rain kind of way. And you know, it was just like my body had given up, and my mind was like, we're going to finish this damn thing no matter what. So I said, yeah, we're gonna move forward. So I get to that remote point where the rest of the group is sitting, having lunch and relaxing. They've made us this big thing of hot vegetable soup. And I literally just stood up on that incredibly cold, windy ridge, eating my soup, standing. And a lot of people asked me that night, they said, why were you standing? And I said, because I knew if I sat down, I would never get up again. So I literally got there, ate my soup, maybe was there 10 minutes, and kept walking. And so I was the last to arrive and the first to leave. And luckily I had this assistant person with me who was a trained guide. And he went ahead with me. And of course we were passed by everybody. But the fact is that night when I got there, and wow, it's getting really dark now. When I got there, and it was almost dark, which is what's ironic about it. Everyone was already there, you know, dinner was being made. And I remember thinking, there was this beautiful sunset, like this amazing gift. And this knowledge that the next day I was going to see Machu Picchu, and we we're going to come in through the Gate of the Sun, which is sort of a different way to come in, because as you come in the next day, and we only had a 2-hour hike the next day, even I only had a 2-hour hike the next day, you come up, and as you come up, you can't see Machu Picchu at all until you're there at the gate. And it was amazing. And the point of this is that we have points in our life where we have to do things that are really, really hard, like dealing with having cancer. And there's so much to learn on the journey for yourself, for your family, for your friends. And it's really just about putting one foot in front of the other and just staying with the freaking journey. Just keep plugging along, one foot in front of the other every day, and you'll get there wherever there is. I mean, there is even less important than the journey, really, right? And so funny, because we got to that Gate of the Sun, and I watched all these people go barreling down from the gate straight into Machu Picchu. We got to see it now. And I just stood up there and I just thought, wow, this is like amazing. I'm watching all of Machu Picchu underneath me. The views were unbelievable. I had a great camera with me. I had an old-fashioned DSLR, the ones pre-everything automatic. Don't ask me what that means. I've forgotten what they're called. And I just took so many pictures, and I just stood there in this moment of awe and respect and honor. I think that's really important when we've accomplished something really big. Honor that moment. Really be present with the knowledge that you did something really amazing. And a lot of times when I was going through having cancer and dealing with it, I would hold on to that. I would remember. Like, I did a 17-kilometer hike in the rain, sick as a dog. And I did it. So if I could do that, I got cancer, right? I can manage cancer. I can manage anything, right? We can manage anything. It's just our mindset and how we deal with it. So I'm just going to leave you with that thought for the weekend. I'm going to be back tomorrow. I promised that I would talk about some of the amazing people I know, and I plan on starting with that tomorrow. That's really it for the evening. It is way too dark now. I'm probably just a little shadow here, and you're more likely to see the bats behind me and my fountain going, which I don't think you can see in the shadows at all anymore. And I'm going to just clean up my backyard and get ready for the evening, and I will catch all of you tomorrow. Have a great weekend.